Hello everyone, thanks for joining in. I am Shubha Kankaria and welcome to episode 5 of Daastan-E-Raahi. It is a travel talk where you get to know about amazing places through wonderful stories of various travelers. So, our today's guest is a native of Spain and he has been a travel enthusiast since early days. He was so passionate about traveling that he carved out his career in such a way that it helped him to travel and explore different countries. He has done his PhD in Spanish, where his dissertation was traveling literature, and he has spent almost a decade teaching Spanish. He has also spent 2 years in India teaching Spanish to Pune University students. He says that he has devoted his life to languages, books, and travel. So, guys, without any further delay, let's get on board Berna Munoz.
Hey Shubha,
How are
hi
you?
everyone. I'm fine, and you? How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much, and it's such a pleasure to have you for the talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to begin with, different people travel for different reasons. Their inspirations and their motivation to travel are different. So, talking about you, tell us what traveling means to you.
So, means a lot of things, but first of all, I think each traveling experience is different because it is not the same thing when you go abroad with a group of friends
Yeah.
or a family travel or when you travel solo, which is a completely different experience. So, I would say it depends on what kind of travel. On a more philosophical note,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, is a lot. It's really meaningful. If I think of myself as a child, I wanted to travel. I didn't know uh, how it was beyond my neighborhood or my city or anything, but I remember that feeling that I wanted to go far from where I was.
Yeah.
And I've been working hard to get to the point all my life. So now that I've got some experience, some traveling experience, I would say things that I like about being abroad is the feeling of freedom to start with.
Mhm.
So when you live in the culture where you belong, when
Mhm.
you live in a place you know well and you know how everything works, how people think and everything, we
Yeah.
all make assumptions about other people. So just because they live in this street or this neighborhood, or they are from the north, or they are from the south, or they have this kind of family, we all make assumptions. So I think one of the things that I like about traveling is that all those assumptions are very difficult to make because if I go to India, nobody knows how is my neighborhood, the city where I come from, you know,
Yeah.
the accent that I have when I speak Spanish. So I'm just a foreigner, as in many other places. So, and I like that feeling of freedom, like all those assumptions that people make about you, you don't have them on your shoulders, when you're
Right.
traveling.
Right.
So
I
I
mean,
think
there's
that
no judgment. Yeah.
there's no judgment. Exactly. I mean, there is, but not in the same way as your neighbors in your own neighborhood, where it's kind of different. They will judge you for different reasons, but not like in a place where you belong. And I
Right.
like that feeling of freedom. Not like I have anything to hide, but you know, like you can start every day. That feeling is very nice, I think.
Yeah.
And you get that when you're traveling in a different country, in a different culture, it's a different language and everything. You can do that, and it feels different than being in your city, like I mean, like always in the same place.
Right.
After
Right.
some point, I mean, it implies mobility because after some point, you start to learn enough to make those assumptions, and people will get to know you. So
Right.
it's more like to be on the move,
Yeah.
and that's something very attractive to me.
Mm.
Traveling is also like getting rid of not only of uh, people's judgment, but also of other things like your language, as I said,
Mm.
your citizenship, everything. You can vote. You are just on your
It's a blank
own.
page.
Yes, so I mean, you have to learn to navigate with very few resources. That's a learning, really,
Right.
because it's not like you know what to do in every situation. You will have to learn as things happen. So it will keep you alert, and you think when you in a new city, a new place, you're
Mm.
looking up to the buildings or whatever. But when you are in your city, you are looking down. You know,
Yeah.
so you see more, and actually, when I've been away from my city for a long time,
Mm.
and I came back,
Yeah.
I have found myself looking up to the buildings and everything, and I thought, oh, this is nice because I'm seeing this place which I know well, like mm, anew, not for the first time, but I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention
Right.
to people, to buildings, because now I have perspective, and that perspective was given to me by a traveling experience. So I think, yeah, it's a new way of seeing. I like very much that metaphor because it's a new way of seeing, and it makes you humble. Yes, because I think when you travel, you learn a lot about other people and
Mm.
about other countries and everything. But
Right.
more than anything, you learn a lot about yourself and about the place where you come from, because
Right.
you gain that perspective that will allow you to see your own place and yourself and your culture and the people of your country in a different light.
Right. Right. That is
So
very true. I mean, I really get your point when you say that in our day-to-day life, we just forget to, realize or admire what we see every day, and we are just moving and moving and moving.
yeah, and looking down to the floor,
Right,
you
right.
know.
And yeah, and then travel makes you like more living in the moment and admiring everything which is around you. Like it kinds of open your eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah,
I get that point. Yeah. That is
and
very
then at the
nice.
same
Yeah, yeah.
and then at the same time you are more alert because you don't have, as I say, you don't have any rights or anything. You are very much on your own, and that's also a learning of a different way of being in the world. I mean, um, of course, the experience can be different. We're talking about traveling, but if something happens to you, I'm thinking when I was in the US, for example, now. I mean, it's not your country. You don't
Yeah.
have any rights. So, but then thinking of the US again, I mean, if you are in India, uh, you can be very proud of yourself and feeling Indian and everything, but I'm pretty sure that when you are away from India, you will feel more Indian than ever because
Mhm.
it's. I mean, being Indian in India, easy, right? But
Yeah.
if you are 7,000 miles away from India,
Mm.
that's when you realize that you are Indian, really. And that happened to me. I remember when I went to the US, I never I had never the feeling of being from Europe. Europe meant nothing to me. I mean, I heard European Union and everything.
Yeah.
I never thought there is a common history or anything. I mean, I know there is a common history, but I mean, when you live here, European countries are so different to each other that I don't have the feeling of belonging with.
Other
Actually,
countries.
that's the European problem, I'd say. We don't
Yeah.
have a feeling of belonging. Uh, but I remember when I went to the US, definitely I felt European for the first time because that's such a different reality. Like the experience of the city, the size of the country, and
Yeah.
I remember vividly that feeling for the first time when I went to the US, which
Yeah.
I never had before.
Hmm.
And yes, so I mean, same thing when I went to Latin America. It
Yeah.
feels different to be from Spain when you are in Spain or when you are in Latin America, right? So
Yeah.
that's perspective, different ways of seeing. That's
Right.
what you get when you travel, I'd say.
Very true. Very true. And I remember that you also have a concept with books and travel. Would you like to tell us about that?
Absolutely. Reading is it's a way of traveling because
Yeah.
if you don't have a chance to go somewhere else, you can read about that place. And
Yeah.
also, what I like about traveling is because I'm curious. I want to know how other people live, how they think, what they do for fun, everything. That's why I travel mainly. And um, and reading is like that. If you read a book, it's because you want to know about other people, basically.
Yeah.
So I think reading and traveling for me they go together, and I think there's nothing better than traveling and reading at the same time about that place, which is also something important to me. I mean, if you are traveling in a place and you are, because there are different ways of traveling. You can go there see nothing, right?
Right.
So if you are traveling, you need to go that extra mile
Yeah.
and try trying to understand uh, what's going on around you, and how do you get there? Reading. For me,
Right.
reading. And so some things are not always obvious. They are not there for you waiting. Hey, like you can digest this very easy. No, you have
Yeah.
to make a little effort to, if you really wanna see,
Hmm.
if you want to understand, and reading is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, if you don't have a chance to go abroad, you cannot, because neither of us will go to every country in the in the world. You
Right.
have to be selective, right? So you can read about those places that you will miss for sure.
Yeah.
And for me, that that has worked pretty well. I have since I went to India, I've read a lot about India, and I think I see India in a different way because I read about those books. I read those books.
Yeah.
Only being there is not enough. I don't think it would have been enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think
I
that
think
is,
it's complementary. They go
yeah, yeah.
together.
And I think that is very interesting perspective. Like you read about a place and then you try to connect the dots and see about the reality. Like, you know?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes, I
that
mean you can test reality in a different, because I mean sometimes you when you're traveling you won't be. inside a family, or I mean, it depends on your experience, but there is a lot of people you won't see, and reading is a way of getting deeper into into the experience,
Right.
So I recommend it totally, totally. And I think it's very, very nice if you are traveling and reading about the same place while traveling. I think that's great. So I recommend it.
Yeah, that is very interesting perspective for me. So, moving on, I remember a conversation with you where you told me that you always wanted to travel the world. So tell us about that. How did this journey of traveling around the world started?
Well, around the world are big words. I don't know if I've been around the world, but as I said in the beginning, I always wanted to travel. It's quite difficult to say where that feeling comes from. I don't really know, but I mean, I can speculate, Uh, when I was a kid, my parents, I'm an only child, and my parents used to travel just within Spain,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't they wouldn't take me with them, not always. Oftentimes they would go on their own because it was like they didn't go to a city or a museum or something like that. They would go to the mountain sometimes and things like that. And so if you take a child, it's different because you can do the same things.
Right.
The so um, sometimes they would go without me, and since I was an only child, I was very much used to being with them all the time. So for me, like 2, 3 weeks without them was like, what's going on here? And I used to be with one of my aunts here in my city while they were away. And at that time, we're talking about the 80s, they would send postcards like, here, we are here, and a picture, whatever. And I saw the pictures and I thought, I want to be there. So maybe it's that feeling that I was missing something, you know, because other times I went with them. And I remember the traveling part is good memories. So maybe, you know, I was missing too much the fact that I was not with them.
Yeah.
But then it's curiosity. I don't know. I always wanted to know what is there farther away from. It's not enough what I have. Some people are happy, same place all the time. I'm not. I want to know more. So I developed some obsessions throughout my life. In the beginning, it was the Madrid, capital city in Spain. I had never been there. I'm talking about being 12, 13,
Okay.
and I wanted to go there mm, in a very intense way. So I finally went there, and when I went there, after that, I wanted to go to other country, and little by little, I've been traveling to places where I typically before one of I mean sometimes I've mm, been to places just because they came to me somehow,
Yeah.
but typically I've been dreaming of a place before going there. For example, in Japan, I really wanted to go to Japan. I don't know why. I thought this is gonna be completely different. I wanna go. But for a few years, I was thinking, I wanna go, I wanna go, I wanna go. in the end I went, you know. So typically I've been dreaming of
Yeah.
some place, and you know that dreaming part is wonderful. I think
Yeah, yeah. But then which
it's
country did you go? Like, which was your first country which you went?
first country. I mean, like eh, out of Spain,
Out of Spain, yeah.
first country. Honestly, I don't remember, but should be Portugal, which is
Okay.
not like or Morocco. Both of them are near my city. So, but I mean Morocco. I remember well the first time. I was 11,
Okay.
and it was Christmas in Christmas time. But
Okay.
Portugal, going to Portugal from where I live, it was, you know, very common, pretty common.
Yeah.
Just it's like 2 hours away, and so we went there for the beach and everything. I don't remember that as traveling. That
Okay.
was like being around, you know. But
Yeah.
Morocco, I was 11, and I remember well the experience. It was very good. And then after that, I've been many times to Morocco because Portugal and Morocco are just. I'm in the south of Spain, and you know it's very easy to go to these places. They are very
Yeah.
near.
Yeah. But then I saw
Um,
that you visited these places when you were kids and you visited with your parents, I believe. But then which
in
trip
Spain.
in Spain, yeah. So which trip you took as an adult, like on all on your own?
So when I was in high school, for some reason, everyone went to London to learn English and everything.
Okay.
And so I decided to go. And and not now. I think it's too expensive for something. Well, now it's completely different because of Brexit and everything. But at that point, we were allowed to work,
Hmm.
shitty work, like washing dishes and everything.
Yeah.
But so I remember when I was 18, which is the legal age to be on your own in Spain.
Yeah.
First thing I did was I went to London. You know, I had some friends in high school who were older than me,
Okay.
and I knew some people were there. Some people I knew were there. So I took a plane, and it was disaster. It was terrible. I missed the plane when I going there. I missed the plane again coming back. I couldn't speak a word of English basically.
Uh-huh.
I was on my own, and there were no cell phones. Everything. I remember I went to a. I had just the phone number of one of these friends. I got to London. I called from a telephone booth, and somehow I managed to be there for I don't remember 1 or 2 weeks.
But then did your friend know that you were supposed to come to London? Was your friend aware of it?
I don't remember. No Facebook, nothing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe yes, or it was a surprise. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, and being in an airport and everything, it's not easy. I mean, if you if you do it every day, it's easy. But the first time, you know, and it's like a different. It's airports are terrible places, I think. But anyway, I did that when I was 18, when I could do it, and I had been dreaming of doing it for years now. I always had also this feeling that I wanted to be autonomous, you know, like I wanted to be on my own. And that's one of the reasons I think that I like. It's not that I don't like family and friends, I love them, but I like the feeling that I can do things myself, you know?
Yeah.
So I did that. I did that. It was a complete disaster, and then I learned to how to how to do it better.
Yeah.
And now I feel uh, I'm confident in myself. When I travel, I've been in many different situations now, so I take it easy and I feel confident. I've been in enough places to understand, I think, how it might work.
Yeah, yeah. And like you were telling, like a lot of people used to go London and do these odd jobs. So did you attempted any of them because of your travel passion?
Uh, we did that when I was, yes, I did many. I don't want to go into a dissertation about European countries and everything, but we did that when I was when I was young, also in college, and just to learn English or wherever, go there and do odd jobs like working in a supermarket. I did many things. I was total in the UK, I think, for 1 year and a half, because after that I went as a student for a few months,
Hmm.
and I didn't work at the time, but I went there also total 1 year and a half in Edinburgh. I was in Edinburgh.
Okay.
I was in Burger King, I was in a construction site, I was in a supermarket, and different things, different things. But that's also, I mean, it's a learning. It's good, and I'm lucky enough. I won't have to do all my life,
Yeah.
but I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy that I did it.
Yeah. And then you finally found your way through teaching. Tell us about that. Like how did
Yeah. Well, I got a scholarship after college to go to the US for a few months teaching Spanish, and in the end, I was there for 6 years. And then India. At all that time, I've been working as a teacher and in different places, and I, I I travel extensively. I mean, I think because that's another point. I think it's easier to travel when you are mm, away from your own place. That if when I'm in my home city, for some reason it's more difficult to me to to be on the move,
right.
but if I'm in another place, uh, I don't know, everything seems to be near. I'm in the US, I see Peru. Oh, it's just around the corner. I want to go.
Yeah.
It is not like that, but that's the feeling that I have. And from my city, like, everything is far. I don't know how that works, but it's to see yourself, from a different. For example, when I was in India, I saw myself in Asia for the first time. So you look at the map and you say, "Oh, look, this is, I don't know, other countries," and I've never been so close to these other parts of the world. So
Yeah.
for me, it's easier when I'm abroad. And as a teacher, I managed to live and work, and that's also completely different. It's not the same thing, passing through than living in a place. That's a completely
Yeah.
different experience. And
Right. It's more like a slow
so,
travel and you take everything in which is around. Like
I mean, it's different. It's when you live in a place, and especially when you work, again you see more things than you won't see when you are just passing through, and you know. So
Right.
it's a completely different experience. For
Yeah.
example, for me, uh, mm, living in the US, I think one of the most enriching parts of that experience was precisely that I was teaching and talking to my students, because I couldn't have got that knowledge from newspapers or books or any or movies or anything. I mean, talking to young people, and I had a bunch of them every day, what they
Yeah.
see in class, how they react, how we interact with each other, being myself from Spain and everything,
Yeah.
for many years, you know. So I had the feeling that I was getting to know something of the country which I couldn't have learned in a newspaper or anywhere else.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And like you talking about India, I know you spent 2 years over here teaching Spanish. So tell us, what was your impressions like when you actually landed in India? What did you feel about India?
Many things. I mean, I have to say, I was very open when I went to India, very open to whatever came, you know, to a new experience, to go there and everything. Um, so India was a challenge for many things, but I was very determined to overcome whatever I had to do. And
Yeah.
so for one part, I loved it, um, because as I think I have said, I went to India directly from the US. I have been living in the US for years before going to India,
Mhm.
and you know, I really wanted to change. So India is, had everything that I was missing in the US, like many things, you know. And so I love that change, but then it was a challenge to just to live there. I mean, to I remember especially getting my apartment, because I was by myself. I wasn't Indian. It's a lot of paperwork and everything. So one of the things mm, that I learned in India is I couldn't do everything by myself, you know. So
Yeah.
um, it's nice to get help, and that's okay. But uh, I couldn't have done before, you know. So, um, but yes, the apartment was especially difficult. Only families. I was a single man. I was, they thought maybe I was going to be partying or everything. So I couldn't. It was on the phone. In the beginning, I remember the English was a challenge to me, because sometimes I didn't understand. They wouldn't understand me. Everything. And but then I met Mr. Chogule, who was my landlord, and he was very much on my side, and that worked. But I mean, other than that, I I was happy to be in India, and as I said, I was open to suddenly so many new things that I was happy, to and why that change? Because I don't know. In the US, I had the feeling that there was nothing under the surface. After a few years, I mean, coming from Europe, where there is like European countries has have like a long history, or at least um, in Spain we have a long history of different civilizations and everything.
Right.
I I, I didn't know that was part of me somehow. Ah, yeah, there is a monument and everything. This is very old. But when I went to the US, after some time, I thought, I had that feeling that I wanted something deeper. I don't know how to explain.
Mm.
India, as Spain, has a long history, and there is, many layers. So there
Yeah.
are different things. It's more, uh, it's richer. So culturally, I think,
Yeah.
and
And I think US must have been like it's not chaotic like India. Like, there's so many people around buzzing and you'll always have people around. I think US
so
is not
look,
that way. So that would also
look.
be a good
I
change.
was sad. I was sad. That I think that's the word. After some time in the US, I come from southern Spain where we live outside very much, and it's a very sunny place and nice weather and everything. And it's not the weather, but it's the culture. We are outside,
Yeah.
and then everything was in the car. There's no people in the streets. Everything. So I don't know. I after some time, I was in need of getting all that back. And in
Yeah.
India, you're never bored. I mean, you can just sit down on the street, you see people passing you, and that's
Right.
enough. So you can go to a cafe, wherever. I mean, you can do that in the US, but you will have to go to the mall, or no shops, no concept of neighborhood. It's just residential area or downtown or whatever. But
Yeah.
there is no, the city is completely different.
Right. And
So
I'm sure after coming from US, India was a big change for you.
it was a change. Yes, it was a change, and I'm happy I did that. And I mean, no, probably not everyone would have done that, but I'm happy I did. And in many ways, India and Spain are completely different places and cultures and everything. But in many ways, I feel more identified with Indian culture and way of life, and the family and food and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm from Southern Europe, I don't know, but I feel more identified with uh, that way of living than with American style or other places.
Yeah. That makes sense. And
Time,
that's
time is so also the conception of time, which is also very different. And I don't know. I was more relaxed, more like, you know,
yeah. It's
myself
good
when I
to
was
hear.
in.
Good to hear that you liked India and it kind of brought a life to you. So
Yeah, no, many things I don't like. I also have to say, but in all, all in all, I think the impact that had on me those 2 years in India were bigger than 6 years in the US, definitely.
yeah. So, we are almost at the end of our talk. And one last thing which I want to talk about is, but now, there are moments, there are a lot of moments in travel which are very close to your heart, or, it kinds of stays with you for different reasons, maybe landscape, maybe people, or anything like that. So, do you remember any such moments from your travels which has stayed with you?
I do. For some reason, I like very much. It seems like a contradiction because I said I like people and how people live and think and everything, but I like very much the idea of isolation. Places which are like very inaccessible or
Remote,
um,
like.
remote. Yes, I like that idea. I like the desert or those places. I think they have different energy. I don't know. I like that. I like cities as well.
Yeah.
But if I remember like those moments of epiphany, like when you those moments that stick with you for a long time and you remember them.
Yeah.
Uh, One of them was in Japan. Um, in Japan I was by myself. I went there. It was the first time that I was traveling solo,
Okay.
and I had a very good experience. I think that's why I repeat it. Uh, so I was there. I was in Tokyo, and so just Mount Fuji
Yeah.
can be seen from Tokyo, actually.
Okay.
But I had no plans to go to Mount Fuji or anything. Maybe it wasn't the time of the year. I don't remember well to go
Okay.
there. So whatever the reason, I made some friends one night that I was in I don't know, in a kind of club or a bar or something.
Okay.
In Japan and Brazil, in Brazil there are a huge Japanese immigration, so there are some mixed people. So I remember I was studying Portuguese at the time, and I met this guy who was father Japanese, mother Brazilian, or something like that. So we
Okay.
started talking a little Portuguese and everything. And in the end, the party was moved to this guy's place, kind of away from the city center. And just like before leaving, I remember like my shoes or something were in the balcony, something like that. I don't know. I hadn't put them myself. Thing
Okay.
is, I went there and completely unexpected. I saw a beautiful view of Mount Fuji from this guy's apartment. It was uh, beautiful, stunning. Just in the, it was very early in the during the sunrise, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't know we could see Mount Fuji from the window, but that was very beautiful. Probably because I wasn't expecting that, and
Okay.
so that image stayed with me since then. And then I've been talking about sunrise and now talking about sunset. In India, in Karnataka, in Hampi, I went
Mm-hmm.
there when I was in Pune, and I went there with my roommate, and we took a bus from Pune to uh, Bijapur, and then Hosiput. I don't remember Hosiput.
Hostel.
Anyway,
Hostel, I think.
Hospet.
I think so. Yeah.
Thing is, we got to Hampi after a long bus trip, and so that first not afternoon, like kind of late in the day,
Yeah.
we were walking around, and there is like a sunset point. Someone will bring some food for the monkeys, so they appear when you go there and everything. And it's a beautiful temple. It's a beautiful place to see the sunset. But we were not there. we were just walking around, see what, just around the bushes and everything. And I
Yeah.
remember this sunset, like just uh, again, somehow unexpected. I think it was one of the most beautiful sunsets that I've seen. Like that landscape, I mean, people go to Karnataka. I mean, that landscape is something I had never seen before. The 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 um, the rocks, whatever they are, and so yeah, and I remember that. I always remember the sunset. I was wow. I I like nature and the feeling of that's what I liked about um, Karnataka, like hours on end
Yeah.
on that bus and just the road and the landscape. And that's a very healthy feeling away from the city, away from people and everything, I think.
Yeah. And I
I
think
mean, Hampi is a
sunset,
touristic place. Huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm saying sunsets and sunrises are anyways a very magical experience. Like, although like we see that every day from our home, but then seeing it in a particular landscape totally changes the meaning for it.
Absolutely. I mean, again, today I won't probably see the sunset because I'm busy doing other stuff. But when you're traveling, you stop and see the sunset, I mean, it's magical. and
Right.
and and we should do it more because it makes you being very aware of things of yourself and passing of time and everything. But
Right.
we are at home and you don't pay attention to anything because your head is full of stuff.
Stuff. Right. Right. That is true.
It's
And these days,
liberating traveling, really.
yeah, that is true. Traveling, it does gets you freedom, it liberates you in different ways.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our talk. And thank you so much, Berna, for joining us for this
Thank
talk.
you.
It was lovely having you. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for joining. And I'll see you again with another wonderful traveler. Till then, stay safe.